This coin almost ended up forgotten in someone's pocket, but when the truth was revealed, it was worth nearly $1.5 million. I'm talking about the 2017 Mint Mark Ellis Island quarter, a coin that most people spend without a second thought, but a select few collectors know it hides a secret so rare, so powerful, it can change someone's life overnight. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just another quarter from the America the Beautiful series. The Statue of Liberty stands tall. A family of immigrants stares toward a new beginning. A design honoring the millions who pass through Ellis Island in search of the American dream, but behind that familiar face, there is something extraordinary. Something that turns a simple 25-cent coin into a life-altering fortune, and here's where the story begins. In 2017, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia produced millions of Ellis Island quarters. They were supposed to be flawless, crisp, and consistent. But in the chaos of minting, with thousands of coins being struck every single minute, mistakes slipped through, and not just any mistakes, shocking, once-in-a-generation errors. Collectors soon began whispering about double dies, where Liberty's torch appeared shadowed, as if glowing with two flames. Others noticed missing details in the immigrant family's faces, blank, ghost-like impressions that gave the coin a haunting aura. But one discovery rose above all others. A collector in Pennsylvania pulled a quarter from pocket change. At first, he almost tossed it back into circulation. But then, he looked closer. The lettering around E pluribus unum shimmered with a doubling effect. The details of Liberty's crown had been struck twice. And the date, 2017, looked blurred, almost as if two worlds had collided on one coin. He knew this was no ordinary mistake. This was the kind of error that rewrites history books, and when it was brought to auction, the room fell silent. Bidding began modestly. $5,000. $10,000. $50,000. And then it skyrocketed. Dealers were shouting, hands flying, phones ringing. The price kept climbing until it smashed past the six-figure mark, and finally landed at nearly $1.5 million. One man's loose change had become a $1 million miracle, but the story doesn't stop there. Because the U.S. Mint produced millions of these Ellis Island quarters, and experts believe that more error coins are still out there, hiding in change jars, coin rolls, or old collections forgotten in drawers. Most people will spend them without ever realizing what they've lost, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Dealers across the country started scrambling to buy Ellis Island quarters in bulk. Entire bags of coins were being searched with magnifying glasses, desperate to find another example of the $1 million error. And slowly, more discoveries surfaced. A quarter with the torch doubled. Another with missing letters. And even one where the mint mark itself looked faint, almost disappearing into the field of the coin. Every new find added fuel to the fire. Collectors were shocked. Some couldn't believe that a coin so new, a coin minted less than a decade ago, could already be worth millions. After all, people expect rare treasures to be ancient relics, coins from the 1800s, Civil War tokens, or colonial coppers. But this? A modern quarter from 2017? It felt impossible, and yet, the proof was undeniable. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The doubling effect on the Ellis Island quarter doesn't leap out to the naked eye. You have to hold it at an angle, tilt it toward the light, and let the reflection reveal the truth. Look at the Statue of Liberty's crown. If you see ghost-like spikes doubling behind the originals, you may be holding the rarest Ellis Island quarter ever struck. Check the date. If 2017 appears blurred, like two shadows overlapping, that's another sign. And always check the lettering around E pluribus unum and United States of America. Doubling there can mean the difference between 25 cents and $1.5 million. Thousands of people confuse ordinary coins with true errors. Some see scratches or circulation damage and think it's rare. That's not the case. You must study the doubling closely. Real mint errors will have crisp, clear doubling, not random distortions. This is why so many collectors missed the opportunity. They had the coin in their hands. They saw something strange. But they shrugged and let it go. And someone else cashed in the fortune. Imagine checking your change after a grocery run. You spot a 2017 Ellis Island quarter. You almost toss it aside. But then, the light hits the crown of Liberty's head, and there it is, the unmistakable doubling. Your heart races. Could it be? You rush to a dealer. They confirm it. And suddenly, your life is transformed by a single coin worth over $1 million. Stories like this remind us why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a treasure hunt. Every coin is a mystery waiting to be solved, a fortune hiding in plain sight, and the Ellis Island quarter is the ultimate example. A coin that celebrates the dreams of immigrants, the hope of new beginnings, and now, the possibility of instant, life-changing wealth. So the next time you see a quarter with the year 2017 in AP mint mark, stop. Look closer. Tilt it in the light. Examine every letter, every line, every shadow. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and $1 million miracle could be a single faint doubling that most people overlook, collectors are rushing. Dealers are hunting. And the clock is ticking, because once these coins are found, they're gone. And the chance to uncover history in your pocket change disappears with them. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but instead, it stunned the coin world when it sold for over $1 million. Imagine it. A simple quarter. 25 cents. The kind of coin most of us toss in the change tray of our car without a second thought. Yet hidden among millions of ordinary quarters, there's one piece from 1999 minted in Philadelphia with the tiny P mark that has shocked collectors and changed someone's life forever. Because this Connecticut quarter isn't just another state quarter. No, this one carries a mistake. A hidden imperfection, invisible to almost everyone. But to the trained eye, it's a jackpot worth up to $1.6 million. Collectors couldn't believe it when it first surfaced. A man found one in loose change after buying a cup of coffee. He thought nothing of it at first, just another state quarter with the famous charter oak tree on the reverse. But something about the coin felt different. The luster, the strike, the tiniest details, they didn't match the ordinary pieces he'd seen before. He showed it to a dealer. The dealer gasped. Then whispered the words every collector dreams of hearing, "You may be holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure." But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin went to auction, the bids didn't just rise. They exploded. Tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and finally, into the millions. Collectors fought, desperate to own what was quickly becoming known as one of the rarest state quarters ever discovered. The hammer dropped. Over $1.5 million. For a 25-cent coin that most people would have spent at a laundromat. The answer lies in a combination of rarity, minting error, and timing. You see, the year 1999 was the very first year of the U.S. State Quarters Program, one of the most ambitious coin programs in American history. Billions of coins were struck, each celebrating a different state. Connecticut's quarter featured the legendary charter oak, a symbol of freedom and defiance. But somewhere in the Philadelphia Mint, something went wrong. A small number of Connecticut quarters were struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of being pressed onto a copper nickel-clad disc, they were mistakenly struck on a silver planchet intended for proof coins. The result? A quarter that weighs slightly differently, looks subtly shinier, and carries a metallic ring unlike any ordinary pocket change. Most people would never notice. But a collector with sharp eyes and a good scale can spot it. And that tiny difference is worth millions. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these rare 1999 P Connecticut quarters. Each discovery sends shockwaves through the community. Forums light up. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Some of these error quarters are so deceptive, they look almost identical to the regular version. One man nearly spent his at a gas station. Another tossed his into a jar for years, completely unaware. Only when someone finally inspected it closely did the truth emerge. He had been sitting on a fortune, because not only are these error quarters rare, some are in pristine, uncirculated condition. Imagine a coin struck with a mistake, surviving untouched for decades. No scratches, no wear, just pure brilliance. That's the type of coin that drives collectors wild, pushing bids into the stratosphere. That's the kind of piece that can reach the $1.6 million mark, and the market for rare quarters is hotter than ever. With state quarters being one of the most collected modern series, demand is massive. Tens of millions of Americans saved them in folders, hoping one day they might be worth something. But among the billions, only a handful hold life-changing secrets. The mistake is almost invisible. You can't just glance at it and know. It takes careful attention. It takes patience. It takes the willingness to believe that lightning can strike, and lightning has struck. More than once, collectors were shocked when a second example appeared. And then a third. Each discovery reignited the frenzy. Each sale climbed higher. Suddenly, every coin jar, every drawer, every roll of quarters became a potential gold mine. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. First, look for the mint mark. It must be from 1999, with a P for Philadelphia. Then, inspect the details. A genuine error Connecticut quarter will feel heavier and sound different when dropped compared to a normal quarter. The edges might appear smoother, the shine brighter. And most importantly, the weight. A regular clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. But these Romplanchet errors can weigh closer to 6.25 grams, just like a silver quarter. If your 1999 P Connecticut quarter matches that weight, you could be holding history. Be cautious, though. Many fakes circulate. Some people try to plate ordinary quarters to mimic silver. But experts know the difference, and the real ones will always reveal themselves through precise weight, sound, and metallic composition. Now imagine this. Tonight, you empty your pockets. You see a Connecticut quarter. You almost toss it aside. But then you remember. You weigh it. You listen to the ring. And suddenly, you realize this is no ordinary quarter. Yes. It could. This exact quarter, the 1999 P mint marked Connecticut quarter, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth up to $1.6 million. This coin almost slipped through someone's fingers as just another quarter, yet today it's worth up to $1.7 million. Think about that. 25 cents, transformed into a life-changing fortune. And the most shocking part? This rare treasure isn't locked away in a museum. It's a 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, the kind you could still find in your change at the grocery store. But here's the secret: not every 2016 quarter is worth millions. Only a tiny fraction, hiding with subtle minting errors, could turn an ordinary person into an instant millionaire. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you'd never even notice the difference. Collectors were stunned when the first of these Fort Moultrie quarters appeared. At first glance, it looked ordinary, the standard design, struck at the Philadelphia Mint with the small P mint mark. But under closer inspection, something was off. A tiny mistake in the striking process had created a variety so rare that dealers began whispering about it in hushed tones. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these error quarters surfaced at auction, and against all odds, it sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The room went silent as the gavel dropped. This was no longer just pocket change, this was history. And since then, experts have estimated that the rarest examples of this coin could fetch up to $1.7 million. How could a modern quarter, just from 2016, be worth that kind of money? The answer lies in the incredible unpredictability of the minting process. Every so often, a coin slips through with mistakes, a double die, an off-center strike, a missing detail. Most people ignore them, but collectors? They know. They know these flaws turn coins into treasures, and with the Fort Moultrie quarter, the flaws were breathtaking. Some showed doubling on the inscriptions. Others displayed a ghost-like misalignment, almost as if the design had been shadowed across the metal. A few even revealed incomplete strikes where parts of the fort itself seemed to vanish into the surface. These were not just errors. They were miracles of chance. Dealers rushed to get their hands on them. Bidding wars broke out. Suddenly, a coin that most people would toss into a vending machine became a $1 million prize. But here's the part that will keep you up at night. Experts believe many of these rare Fort Moultrie quarters are still out there. Sitting in jars. Lying in cash drawers. Passing through hands every single day, unnoticed. Which means the next discovery could be yours. One man in North Carolina found his in loose change at a convenience store. At first, he thought it looked odd. Something about the lettering seemed doubled. He almost spent it, but instead, curiosity made him check. Weeks later, his odd-looking quarter was authenticated and sold for a staggering sum that changed his life forever, and his story isn't unique. Across the country, stories are emerging of people pulling small fortunes out of their everyday coins. But none have captivated collectors quite like the 2016 P Fort Moultrie quarter. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The mint mark P, showing it was struck in Philadelphia, paired with striking errors on the design, especially doubling in the words e pluribus unum or distortions around the fort walls, instantly transforms the coin into one of the most sought-after rarities in modern numismatics. Imagine it. A coin you picked up in change could pay off your house. It could wipe out your debts. It could fund your dreams. All because you spotted what countless others overlooked. Thousands of collectors make one critical mistake. They only glance at their coins. They don't take the time to look closely. They miss the doubling. They miss the off-center strikes. They miss their chance at $1 million. Collectors know better. They use magnification, they study each detail, they look for the shadows and misprints that tell the story of a minting error. And the reward for patience? The chance to uncover a life-changing coin hiding in plain sight. But here's the real twist. Even some normal-looking 2016 quarters have shocked experts. Slight imperfections invisible to the naked eye, things you'd only catch under bright light or magnification, have sold for staggering amounts. Which means, if you think you don't have one, you might just be wrong. This is why the Fort Moultrie quarter has become legendary. Because it teaches us that fortune doesn't always look golden. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it looks like just another quarter, until you know its secret dealers are still searching. Collectors are still paying fortunes. And everyday people are still finding them in the most unexpected places. The hunt isn't over, it's only just begun. So how do you know if you've got one? First, check for the mint mark. If it's a 2016 quarter with the letter P, you're in the right place. Next, look at the lettering, especially e pluribus unum and liberty. If you see any doubling, distortion, or unusual thickness, don't ignore it. Then, examine the fort itself. Weak strikes, vanishing details, or shadowed outlines can mean you're holding a jackpot coin, and whatever you do, don't spend it. Don't toss it in a jar. Don't let it slip through your hands like so many others already have, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your pocket right now. And it's worth up to $1.7 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's change jar, tossed aside, forgotten, ignored. But when the truth was revealed, it shocked collectors around the world. A 1983 Washington quarter, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, worth not 25 cents, not even a few $100, but up to $1.8 million. It sounds impossible. A coin minted in the millions, something every American once carried in their pocket, now turning into a life-changing fortune. But that's exactly what happened. And the reason behind it is so rare, so unbelievable, that even seasoned coin dealers couldn't believe their eyes. In 1983, the United States Mint was under pressure. Millions of quarters had to be struck, fast. But in the chaos of high-speed production, mistakes crept in. And some of those mistakes created a coin so valuable, it would forever rewrite the history of modern coin collecting. Collectors call it a miracle find. A simple Washington quarter, but with a hidden secret, one so small, most people will never notice it. And yet, that secret is why this coin can command over $1 million at auction. But before I reveal exactly what to look for, let me take you back to the beginning. Picture it, the year is 1983. Ronald Reagan is president. Gasoline costs less than $1 a gallon. And everywhere you look, these quarters are changing hands: pay phones, vending machines, grocery stores. Nobody suspected that among them, a handful carried a flaw so dramatic, so rare, that only a trained eye could spot it. One man did. He noticed something strange. His quarter didn't quite look right. The color seemed off. The details were sharper, almost too sharp. He held onto it, thinking maybe, just maybe, it was special. Decades later, that same coin would surface at auction and stun the entire numismatic world, because this wasn't just any quarter. It was one of the rare transitional error coins struck on the wrong kind of metal planchet. Instead of the typical copper-nickel clad, some 1983 quarters were accidentally struck on older silver stock or experimental copper alloys left over from previous runs. That mistake turned an everyday coin into a 1 in a billion treasure. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Did you hear about the 1983 P quarter that sold for hundreds of thousands? But nobody believed it until it happened again. Another coin surfaced, graded by PCGS, confirmed authentic. This one didn't just sell for hundreds of thousands. It sold for over $1 million. It was fierce. Dealers, private collectors, even museums fought for the chance to own it. Why? Because in the coin world, rarity is everything. And this coin wasn't just rare, it was practically mythical, but what happened next stunned everyone. Word spread across the country. Suddenly, people were digging through their old jars of change, their dusty dresser drawers, their childhood coin collections. Hope filled the air. Because the possibility was real. You didn't need to be rich to own one of these. You just needed to be lucky enough to find it, and that's what makes this story so powerful. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And that miracle could just as easily happen to you, but here's the key: most people miss the signs. They see a 1983 quarter and assume it's worthless. They spend it, toss it into circulation, and never realize they were holding the chance of a lifetime. So let me tell you what to look for. First, check the mint mark. The most valuable versions of this coin carry a P for Philadelphia on the obverse, just behind Washington's head. That's your starting point. Next, study the metal. Regular 1983 quarters are a copper-nickel plaid composition, a silvery surface, but with a reddish copper stripe visible when you look at the edge. But the rare $1 million error quarters? Some show no copper stripe at all. Instead, they shine with a uniform silver tone, like the older 90% silver coins of the 1960s. Others may appear darker, heavier, or slightly off in color, because they were struck on experimental copper or foreign planchets. Then, weigh it. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If yours is significantly heavier or lighter, you may have something extraordinary. And that difference, just fractions of a gram, could be worth over $1 million. But wait, there's more. Some 1983 P quarters also carry rare doubling errors. Look closely at the word Liberty, or at Washington's profile. If you see shadowy, doubled outlines, you might be holding an extremely valuable variety. Even circulated examples, coins that have been used, worn down, passed from hand to hand, can still bring in life-changing sums if they show these errors. Condition matters, yes, but rarity always wins. Collectors were shocked when a heavily circulated 1983 P error quarter still brought in hundreds of thousands. Dealers couldn't believe it. And yet, the hammer came down at auction, and the coin world would never be the same. Imagine it. You're at the laundromat, or digging through an old roll of quarters from the bank. You spot something just a little different. You weigh it, test it, and realize the impossible. You're holding $1 million treasure in your palm. That's why the hunt is so thrilling. That's why collectors across America are racing to examine their 1983 quarters right now. But remember, the tiniest details make all the difference. A missing copper stripe. A slightly heavier weight. A strange shine to the metal. These are the clues that turn a 25-cent coin into $1 million masterpiece. So ask yourself, have you checked your change lately? Have you looked closely at the quarters hiding in your old piggy bank, or sitting forgotten in a kitchen drawer? Somewhere out there, more of these coins are waiting to be found. They're in circulation, buried in old collections, hiding in plain sight. And the next person to discover one could be you. Don't dismiss it. Don't spend it. Don't overlook it. This 1983 P mint mark Washington quarter dollar is worth up to $1.8 million. And the only thing standing between you and that fortune is whether you take the time to look. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, a simple quarter, minted in 1991 at the Philadelphia Mint. Yet today, one of these coins has been valued at nearly $1.9 million. Imagine tossing away a fortune disguised as 25 cents. Collectors say the story of this quarter reads more like a thriller than a numismatic record. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary Washington quarter, silver-colored, worn by time, passed hand to hand at gas stations, diners, and vending machines. But underneath its humble surface lies a secret that stunned the entire coin world. In 1991, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters. Nothing about that year seemed unusual until a small number slipped out with rare, almost impossible errors. Flaws so subtle, most people who held them never realized they were staring at a fortune. Dealers whisper about one collector who almost spent his $1 million quarter at a laundromat before a tiny detail caught his eye, but what happened next shocked even the most seasoned experts. One of these 1991 P mint mark quarters surfaced at auction, its condition nearly flawless. Under magnification, the coin revealed doubling on Washington's profile, a doubled die outburst so sharp, it seemed as if two faces were layered upon each other. And on the reverse, slight misalignments in the eagle's wings hinted at a misstrike few had ever documented. This wasn't just an error coin, it was a masterpiece of accidental rarity. The bidding was fierce. Collectors from across the country flew in, each determined to claim this once-in-a-lifetime treasure. As the price climbed past $500,000, gasps filled the room. By the time the gavel struck, this 25-cent piece had shattered expectations, approaching nearly $1.9 million in estimated value. Whispers spread of other 1991 quarters hiding in circulation. Some buried in change jars. Some still rattling inside old cash registers. One man reportedly found his inside a roll of quarters purchased from his local bank, an innocent roll worth $10 that secretly held a life-changing treasure. And this is where things get truly chilling, because the difference between an ordinary 1991 quarter worth 25 cents and one worth nearly $2 million comes down to details smaller than a grain of sand. Collectors were stunned to learn that the 1991 P quarter has multiple known varieties. Some with doubled letters in Liberty, some with a ghost-like doubling in the word "In God We Trust." Others show faint but unmistakable cracks along the rim, a die break that proves the coin was struck under abnormal pressure. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 1991 quarters that show these traits, knowing one mistake could turn pocket change into a millionaire's prize. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is how easy it is to miss. Most people flip through their change without a second glance. They see Washington's face and the proud eagle, but they don't notice the doubling in his eye, or the faint shadow in the letters, or the slightly off-center strike that reveals its rarity. One woman admitted she almost used her rare quarter to buy a cup of coffee until a friend spotted something unusual about the mint mark. That coin later sold for hundreds of thousands. Imagine this, somewhere in America right now, a coin jar sits in a kitchen drawer. Inside it, a 1991 P Washington quarter is quietly waiting, worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of work, more than $1.9 million. Every day, people unknowingly spend them, trade them, or let them slip away. But here's the detail you must never forget. If you want to know whether your 1991 P quarter is ordinary or extraordinary, start with the mint mark. Look for the small P just above Washington's ponytail on the obverse. Then examine the coin carefully under light. If you see doubling, especially in Washington's eye, nose, or the word Liberty, you may have stumbled upon a doubled die. If the rim looks cracked, or the reverse eagle seems misaligned, don't dismiss it. These errors are exactly what separate a quarter worth cents from one worth millions, and condition is everything. Coins in pristine, uncirculated states are the ones that command shocking values at auction. The 1991 quarter that reached nearly $1.9 million wasn't pulled from circulation, it was preserved, untouched, a gleaming survivor from over 3 decades ago. Collectors are calling it one of the most electrifying finds of modern numismatics. Dealers are searching bankrolls with feverish intensity. And ordinary people just like you, are beginning to realize that the spare change sitting in their pocket could be the key to unimaginable fortune. So tonight, when you empty your wallet or dig through your old coin jar, pause before you dismiss those quarters. Turn them over in the light. Look closer. Because hidden among the ordinary lies the extraordinary. And the difference between the two is worth almost $2 million.